Hi everyone, it's Simon here with a review of Woven. Woven is a platform adventure game available on PlayStation 4, Nintendo Switch, Xbox One and PC, and it's a PlayStation 4 version you see on your screens. It came out last week, and although it may look initially like it is entirely a children's game, I think it probably appeals more to the collecterthon in you, and that's much more of a wide-reaching audience. It is completely without any combat or violence, which is also great for the younger generations, particularly if parents are looking out for that. And it's told entirely through rhyme, and has a real playful mechanic to it. Woven is also completely woolly built, so all of the textures, all of the animals and kind of creatures that you find inside it are all built from fabric, and I adore just how textured and vibrant the world is that's around you. However, some of the gameplay mechanics are quite frustrating, and lack some quality of life features that I think would probably annoy some younger gamers, which is why I kind of say, do you know what, if you're more of a collectathon person, this is probably what this game will appeal to most. You start out as a custom stuffed animal. You start off initially as just like a little cute grey elephant with a limpy leg, and he's all sad, and he'll kind of get repaired as he goes along. It's like, oh, now I can walk and do things properly. And as you go across each of the 4 levels, and I know that sounds small, but the levels take about 90 minutes to 2 hours each to complete. So it's quite a chunky game, actually. It's just, it sounds small. You'll be going around solving very light puzzles, but mostly trying to find different woolly patterns and different cave drawings to explain the story, and also finding knitting machines that your trusty sidekick, who is a mechanical bee called Glitch, will kind of take over and then re-stitch you how you want to be stitched. Now, you can kind of customize your color palette however you want. Each of your limbs and your head and your body can be painted in 3 different tiers of colors so that you can really make things different. And each level has like 30 patterns that you can try and find and unlock. And they're quite well hidden, some of them, and quite a lot of them will be hidden behind small little puzzles where you might need to interact with an animal whilst you're dressed in a certain way, or coloured in a certain way, so that they will then like talk to you, and then you'll be able to then get their colour pattern from them, that kind of thing. The other side of the story, or gameplay mechanic, is that your stuffed animal parts come with abilities, and they're mapped to your shoulder buttons. And here's kind of the weird element of Woven, is that your base stuffed character can just walk, and that is it. It can't jump, it can't push blocks, it can't sing necessarily. And so when you start putting on different animal parts, like if you put on the elephant's legs, then it can stomp, and that can shake things from trees. It can cause things to like move out of your way, that kind of stuff. Or it might be that you have to put on like the antler head, and the antler head and legs let you be able to jump. So you're kind of doing a bit of a mix and match so that you can get the skills that you need to be able to traverse through that part of the level. That, in theory, makes you kind of go, oh, cool, so I need to swap out my stuffy constantly all of the time so that I can make sure that I've got the right equipment as I go along. And this is where this slight downside of Woven comes into play. All of these things can only take place and change when you get to your knitting sewing machine that Glitch can run for you. And the problem with that is that they aren't necessarily next to where you need to be. And so your entire collectathon experience, because there's very little in terms of gameplay apart from this, is finding what you need, realising you don't have that skill equipped, going back to find where your sewing machine is, change, go back, get the colour palette, move on to the next part of the puzzle or next part of the world that you're traversing, realise that you need to switch back to the skills that you had originally, go back to the sewing machine, change the skill, run back forward again. And it feels unintuitive in today's modern age quality of life stuff where you'd be able to switch stuff on the fly. I feel like if Glitch was able to, I don't know, hold some loadouts so that you could swap costumes between 2 or 3 of them on the fly, Woven would be so much more of an interesting and fun experience. That as well is that because these skills are mapped to the shoulder buttons, you aren't physically doing the skill itself. You're basically navigating a menu to then jump or to sing or to stomp or to push a block. So you aren't feeling necessarily in direct control. Glitch also has its own mechanics to be able to shine lights on caves so that you can unlock paintings, or to plug into machines so that it can press buttons and either unveil backstories on Glitch itself, or like the cave drawings of what's happened in this beautiful woolen world. And it's a mixture of really weird mechanics and weird implementation that kind of made me weirdly tune out. Which is a shame, because there is a lot to love about Woven, but it's just it's pushed its mechanics in the wrong direction so that you don't feel invested or involved in the story, and it's like it's playing itself. Similarly, you can complete the entire game without earning any achievements. All of the achievements and trophies are tied to doing the collectibles. So whilst I completely appreciate that, it kind of, and there's no like chapter select, so you can't go back. You end up scouring around thinking, well, I've tried everything, and I don't really quite know where this last pattern is. And that happened to me several times, especially when you're trying to guess what some of the things are doing, because it will just be like, that's not the right colour, or you can't be too fashionable with this type of stuff. And I was like, well, I've painted myself the same colour as you. What more do you want? And so it just felt like there's too much back and forth tracking for game padding's sake rather than enjoyment's sake, if that makes sense. Now, back to some of the positive sides of stuff, because I feel like I've ranted a little bit there. Woven does have a beautiful soundtrack. I adore the graphics, and I adore the fact that the stuffy is completely customizable and you can muck about with it. Admittedly, you're mucking about with it so that you can progress through the level, but I think that's an ingenious game mechanic and needs to be like expanded upon should there ever be a Woven 2. I also really liked the way how the narrator narrates your entire journey as you're going along in rhyme. Some of it feels really clunky, but I think like that eye rolling, oh for goodness sake, is part of its charm. So you should look out for that, because it has this innocent, childlike quality. And the narrator sounds like a cross between Stephen Fry and the granddad you may not have had read you stories at night. I hope that makes sense. It really hits its nail on the head perfectly. And so all of this beautiful setup then sets you up for an adventure that then infuriates you, because you're just searching for colours on patches, using weird icon-based UI that doesn't feel intuitive, doesn't react quickly, and is just sluggish throughout. I feel like a few quality of life improvements for Woven would improve this game immensely. And if there were to be a Woven 2 and they moved away from having to go to a sewing machine to change up your stuffy, and Glitch could do it for you, for example, on the fly, I think Woven would be a really intriguing and interesting concept to go forward with. But at the moment, it feels like this is really one for the collecterthons who don't mind going back and forth around the same old environment, basically switching out your costume so that you can vaguely progress and collect everything. Because if you're not scratching that itch, there's very little to Woven that you actually need to do. So any questions or comments, please do leave them down below. I hope that was informative. There will be a written review of this game over on higherplanegames.com early in the week. But until then, thank you very much for watching. Take care. Bye. Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane Network, a collection of media projects ran by me. If you like what you see and want to find out more, visit patreon.com/Higher Network. Your support can make so much more possible, be that a like, a comment, a share, or a pledge. Thanks for watching.